Welcome. In this tutorial, I'm going to pick up on page 25, which begins with Format Element Backgrounds. Let me show you what we have here. This is Live View, but if you go into Design View, notice that it's an entirely different look, and that's because of the way things are formatted in Design versus Live. Live will give you an actual preview of what it will look like in the web page. However, Design View is not a true picture of what it looks like, as all the CSS isn't implemented in the same fashion. So let's go back into Live View. And I'm on page 25. I'm going to start with opening the index file, which is already open. And then I want to just click on the logo, which is nothing more than a graphic. Logo is a fancy name for a graphic header that normally appears on the top of a page and is specific for each organization. So we have it here, photography, Crow Photography. Down at the bottom, you see these are the image tags, and we talked about that in the last video. And you can get a lot of information from these tags. I click on the image, and it talks about the image properties here. Click on the header, it gives me more information, and the body. Also, if you look into Code View, you're going to see that whatever you click on here is selected. So we have the header here selected, the body here is selected. So let's go back into Live View, and we'll click on the logo, and we have it over here. Let me click on tag, go back into code, and you can see that's selected. So that's an easy way. If you need to select a div tag or a specific tag, you can do it from the tag inspector down at the very bottom. Okay, so let's continue here. In number 3 in the CSS, we want to select the header selection in here. So we're clicking over here in the tag. We're going to go into CSS, and we're going to find header. Now, an easy way to do it, sometimes it works. Most times it works. Sometimes it doesn't, depending upon what you're actually clicking on. If you have a lot in here, and there's really not that many in here to scroll down, but if you have a lot and you click on a specific tag and go to current, it's going to find that tag for you. However, this is one of the times when it doesn't work because we want the actual header selected. So I could have clicked on header down here, but that's not what the book told us to. So I'm going to click on the actual logo. I'm going to go back to all, and I'm going to click on header over here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to format it. It tells us to highlight the existing background color, and we're going to type FFF. Now, the book does talk a little bit about that, and that's one of the things we did when we did the shortcuts. FFF is a shortcut for FF, FF, FF. You can do that for basically anything where numbers or letters are repeated. Look at the shortcut rules. However, if you're uncomfortable doing it, just type in 6 Fs. So let's go over here, and we're going to click on the background, which is this. And we want to get rid of CCC. And we're just going to type in FFF, which is white. If you want something that's all black, you can remember black is 000. What I tell people, if you can never remember whether something is FFF or 000, just remember the definition of black, which is the absence of color, and 0 basically is the absence of a positive number. So just remember from that. So now we've changed that to white. I'm on the next page, page 26. It tells us to press the Enter key to finalize it, which I've already done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to right-click the header selector in the CSS panel, and that's going to allow us to actually copy the style so we don't have to go in and recreate it. So we have the option of copy all styles or just copy a specific style. So we're going to go to the next page, and the RGB section on the very bottom gives you an explanation of hexadecimal color codes. It's not as complicated as it may sound like to be in here. So we're going to, number 7 tells us to go into the nav selector and right click. So we need to copy the background style here. Then we need to find the nav, and we're going to right click, and we're going to paste the style. This is the nav up here. That takes care of that. Okay, we're going to go to step 7, which is the tagline and the footer section. Here's the tagline. Right click, paste styles. So you can see that changed, and then we want to find a footer. So let's just find it from here. Let's click, here's the footer. Let's click on footer. Let's go to current, and there it is. And we'll paste the styles. That takes care of that. Let's go back to all over here. So all we did was copy some specific styles from the logo, which is inside the header, and copied them, then pasted them into other ones. That saves us the other issues. Then what it wants us to do is look in the document window and select the word about over here. We'll just click in it. And it's saying that it has a square link and it also has a row 3. So basically, the row 3A is an actual ID. I'll go into code view and you can see what I'm talking about. Here's row 3 as an ID, row 3B, row 3C. ID means it's a specific name. Just think of it as a family with a nickname for each one of the kids. It's not normal that you have the same nickname for one kid as you do for another one. So here's the exact same rules, only you cannot have the same ID for more than one tag within a specific web page. Again, you'll get more comfortable with IDs and you'll start using them once you get very comfortable with them, because that makes it very easy for you to format a specific area and know that you're never going to change anything else as a result over here. So it tells you about the defined ID is row 3A and a class attribute of square link. So basically that's saying it has a ID and a class is applied to it as well. That's page 27. Going on to page 28, we're going to click on the calendar and let's click over there, and it tells you basically the same thing. And then we're going to paste the background to the color style in square link selector, which is step number 11. So we need to find the square link selector. Again, they're not necessarily in alphabetical orders. Do not confuse a square link with the square link A. That means an A, which is a link that is inside a class of square link. So let's click on the square link and let's paste the styles. So now you can see that's changed. However, if you've noticed, it's not white, it's somewhat gray. And there's a reason for that, which you'll see very shortly. So we're going to go into page 29. In the square link selectors, click the square row 3A, which is right here. And it gives you a little bit of explanation over here. So understand the body, the div, the row 3A, which is a non-transparent background color, and the square link is a semi. Non-transparent means it's fully shown through. Semi-transparent look like it has a window that is not fully clean, and you can see most through it, but you can't see all through it over here. So that's what you have in here. You have a gray that's defined as the background color. So what we're going to do, number 13, it tells us to move the mouse cursor over the background color property. So let's click on background. And here's our background color. And you can see it's CCC, and it wants us to remove it. Well, the easiest way to move it is just to get this little trash can right here. Once you remove it, it actually deletes it. This over here disables it, but doesn't delete it. This actually removes it. So now you can see this is now white. So we're clicking on that. That was page 29, number 14. And page 13, we're going to do the same thing for row B and row C. Now, I encourage you to try to experiment. For instance, many times you can do something by selecting more than one element. Many times you can't. Well, we have to do the same thing to row B and row C, but maybe that's okay because there's only 2. Suppose there was 25 that you needed to do. Well, let's see if it'll let us select and do more than one at the same time. So I'm going to click on row 3, and I'm going to hold the control key down and select row 3C. And boom. But the problem with that, it doesn't give us the ability to do anything with these actual styles. There's no trash can. So you say, well, then we can't do it. Well, before you give up, right click and nothing happens. So there is a way that you can experiment to see if you can do something to make it easier. That doesn't work with styles. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan, even if you could do it, to do it that way, because it's very easy to make a mistake and mess up something that you don't want to. So let's go in here. Let's click on it here. Let's go down to the background. And let's do that. And background color, and boom. We're taking care of that again. So that is 15. Okay, then we're going to select square link selector in here. We're going to click the existing swatch, so we need to find a square link. And we want to do the background color, which again, remember, layout, text, borders, and background. We are going to do a little in the more, but I believe it's easier to do everything within here. So let's click on background. Here's our background color for the square link. And it's going to ask us to use the color picker again. And then we're going to find something in here. If you want to experiment and do something else, that's fine. So let's click on this, and we'll hit the enter key. And then we're going to save all. Now, I have purposely made an error in here, so you can see it is completely blue. The book down here does not show that. So I am going to leave that for you people to come back, and then I will make a video that if you haven't found what the error is, go ahead and do it. When something does not happen exactly what it looks like in a book, it's normally that you missed a step. And it's really easy to do in a book because you look at something and you don't read everything, or it tells you to do something and you think it's telling you to do something else. So let's leave it at that. And here's a little bit of a challenge for you. And then I'll come back and I'll show you exactly what you needed to do. And I'll give you a hint. It might have something to do with page 31 and step 18. So I've given you maybe 10 more seconds. All right, so let's go back. We have the background color here. Let's go back and make it CCC, what it was. And now let's go back in here. And it tells us to click on the RGBA and drag it about a third down. So this is 100%. So we want to get down to about 67%, which is a third of the way down. And you could actually type it in there. Once you hit the enter key, boom. So now we have it. So hopefully, good job for those of you that picked up on that. Okay, 32, adjust text settings for page elements in here. Again, not as difficult. It says, basically, we're going to change the size and the text. Now, remember, the last rule in CSS wins, so that if you make a rule on the body, but you override it with a rule in a paragraph, the rule that comes last wins. So just always remember that when something does not show the way you've done it, and you go, I know I made a change, and you're looking in the CSS file, and it says you made it, just go back to the CSS file and see if there's something's overriding it. And there's even a way to go and do it through here, and I'll show you real quick. If you want to know everything that's affecting this element here, just hold the Control key down, or rather the Alt key, and you'll see everything that affects it. So if you see that you did something here, but you have another one that affects the color over here, that's why it's not the way you expect it, because you have something in there that's overriding it. Okay, so we're clicking the body tag selector in here. I'm just going to click here. I'm going to go to current, make my life easier. So that here's our body over here. And it wants us to change the font set. Now, this is very important. I know people love fonts. A good friend of mine is associate pastor of a church, and he does a lot of work in Photoshop, and he just loves fonts. He calls me up all the time. Guess what font I just downloaded? Guess what font this? And that's great when you're making something that you're going to show on your computer. However, if you have something done in a font that the person's computer does not have, and remember, these fonts are not embedded in the web page. It's just saying, tell the browser to show it in this font. So what happens is it does it, and it goes to show the font's not installed, and you get some substitution. So here we're going to give something that's somewhat simple in here, and there's ways to do it through the Adobe Web Fonts as well to actually embed the font itself. So let's go over here. That would be in text. And you can see here's the font family. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to do the Lucida Grande, which ends in sans serif. So we'll click here, and here's the Lucida. So that means show this font first. If it doesn't have it, look for Lucida Sans Unicode. If it doesn't have it, look for Lucida Sans, then Deja Vu Sans, then Versana, and then if that, then show any sans serif font that is there. So you can see the font actually changed over here. Jury's still out as to whether it looks better or not, but it does look nice. One thing I want to point out is when you're doing your web pages, it's good practice to capitalize the A, C, and G in these. Anything that you have as a link really is good practice to capitalize everything. So we just did page 32. Ra 31 rather. And page 32 is actually what we just did. I have these pages loose, so they're kind of flying all over the place. I'm on page 33 now. Tells us to click the current button. And what we're going to look for is to review the tag selection over here. And we're going to find the tagline. So here's the current that we've done in the document window. Click the tagline text, which is this. And we have the current over here, so you can see how it automatically displays for it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to override any of the default text properties in here. And we're going to make it big to 30 point. So we're going to click, and there's more than one way to do it. So here we have the text. We're going to look for the text size, which at this particular time is undefined. There's many different ways that you can do it. So let's do it the way the book tells you. And just to double click. And let's try that again. There we go, finally. And we're going to physically type in 30px, which means 30 pixels. So you can see that made it larger. Again, I personally don't think this looks good. I think this should be capital U, capital A, capital N, and capital L. But let's just stick with what the book has over here. And it also tells you do not type a space between the 30 and the PX. That takes care of that. We press return to finalize it. Then we're going to do the same thing for the font size property, only this time we want to do it to 45. So that's going to be in the square link. And we just want the square link, not the square link A. So let's go to text. And we'll go to the font size. Now, here's another way that you do it. You can click once and see how it brings up a menu over here. Then you can just change this here to PX. And then you can type in your whatever you want to type in. So let's type in 45. And boom. That takes care of that. We're on page 35 now, and we're going to format the navigation links. These are the navigation links up here. We're going to put some bullets in, and we're going to move them around a little. So I'm looking at page 35, and I'm on number 1, and it explains the link element is an A, which is contained in a paragraph tag, which is a P, which is contained in the nav element, which is nav, which is contained in the page body. And you can see that over here. We have the A, the P. Let's actually click up here. And we have the A, the P, the nav, and the body. So we want to select the about here now, which is now the actual links over here. And again, we have the same thing. We have the A, the P, the Dreamweaver square link, and the body in here. You can see that down here. So we're going to select the A tag right here. That means the actual anchor itself in here, and we want to actually define what happens with the actual link itself. So we're going to go to the text button over here. And what we're going to do here is the text decoration controls the actual underline over here. So what we want to do is we want to change the text decoration. Sometimes it's a little tricky. And this means underline, overline, strike through. We're going to get rid of it. And once we hit that, notice that it's taken care of. Now mine is a little bit below where it is, so it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see it's down in there. So now we're going to, this is number 6. In here, we're going to choose the eyedropper in the bottom over here. We're going to change, click over the blue, then we're going to actually change the colors over here. So we want to change the colors of that. It's really very simple. You're not going to see much of a change, but let's go into the color. And we want to do the background color is different than the color itself. If we do the background color, that affects the actual background. If we want to do the text color, we're actually doing the text color itself. So let's go back to number 6 in the CSS designer. Over here, we're clicking the text decoration property. In here, we click none. Then we're clicking the swatch to the color property to open up the color pop in here. So we want the color here. And then we want the eyedropper. And then we're going to sample it here. Okay, now I'm trying to go slow to give you a little bit more time to do these things in here. And again, depending upon where you click is what color is going to be here. So if it's not exactly what the book says and not exactly what mine says, that's okay. It's no biggie in here. So now we're going to save all. And now we're going to format the navigation links. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to end this video. This is for 25 minutes. And then I'll start back because this one is a little bit more difficult formatting. You're going to be actually putting in little eyes. So when it's differently and you're going to see little bullets that are going to be over here, we're going to be moving this over here through padding. So I will end this video here and then we'll pick up on the next one. So have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions.